Biomed Nexus. Daily updates, your essential biotech, medtech, and pharma recap. No noise, just what matters. Executive takeaway Novo, Nordisk's 50% US list price cut for Wegovy and Ozempic signals a tactical retreat to secure long-term formulary access against the most favored nation pricing pressures highlighted in last night's State of the Union. Meanwhile, J&J's dual submission for nipocalimab and continued domestic manufacturing investment cements its pivot to onshored high-margin immunology. Read full analysis, week ahead, Catalyst's WED 225 today, Eton Pharmaceuticals, PDUFA, ET600, WED 225 today, Taiho Oncology, SNDA decision for newly diagnosed AML in COVID. Through 226, SAT 228, ASCO GU 2026, San Francisco. SAT 228, PDUFA Super Saturday, BioMarin, Palynziq expansion, Ascendis Pharma, Navapegritide. Note, Sanofi Regeneron's Dupixent for AFRS was approved early yesterday. What to watch? State of the Union, Healthcare. Readout. In last night's State of the Union address, President Trump highlighted the Trump RX initiative as the primary vehicle to reduce the crushing costs of healthcare. Crucially, he used the address to prod Congress to permanently codify his most favored nation drug pricing plan to bring U.S. prices in line with other developed nations, while emphasizing immediate out-of-pocket benefits by citing a patient who saved $3,500 on IVF fertility drugs. The CagriSema divergence. Novo Nordisk's head-to-head redefine. FOR trial failed its primary endpoint yesterday, despite achieving 23% weight loss. The market will now re-evaluate if higher dose formulations can bridge the gap to Eli Lilly's 25.5% tirzepatide benchmark. AML PDUFA today. Taiho Oncology's supplemental NDA decision for newly diagnosed acute myeloid leukemia is expected today. Watch for label expansion implications across the AML treatment landscape. Top story, Novo Nordisk slashes US GLP-1 prices by 50% amid political pressure. What happened? Novo Nordisk announced it will reduce the US list prices of its semaglutide portfolio, Wegovy, Ozempic, Rybelsus, to a uniform $675 a month, representing cuts of up to 50% for Wegovy and 35% for Ozempic, effective January 1, 2027. Why it matters? This preemptive move aims to deflate the most favored nation pricing mandate currently being operationalized via trumprx.gov. By voluntarily cutting list prices, Novo seeks to protect its net pricing floors and maintain favorable PBM positioning as Congress debates formal price capping legislation. The context, the timing, one day after CagriSema's disappointing redefine FOR readout, suggests defensive positioning as Lilly's tirzepatide franchise strengthens. Executive impact, the gross-to-net spread for obesity meds is collapsing. Competitors, primarily Eli Lilly, now face immense pressure to match these cuts or risk being excluded from the next-generation federal drug discount platforms. Oncology and rare disease. Pfizer, Array BioPharma, FDA approval. The FDA granted traditional approval to encorafenib, Braftovi, in combination with cetuximab and chemotherapy for first-line BRAF 600E+ metastatic colorectal cancer. Data, the Phase 3 BREAKWATER trial showed median OS of 30.3 months versus 15.1 months for standard of care, HR 0.49, P0001. Beam Therapeutics, 500 meters financing. Funding, secured a non-dilutive financing facility from 6th Street to support the anticipated 2026 launch of Risto-Cel for sickle cell disease. The facility includes 100 $100 funded at close with up to $400 $100 upon milestones. Signal validates the high-conviction commercial model for base editing, providing massive runway without diluting equity at current valuations. Palvella Therapeutics, Phase 3, success. Data, Shares surged over 25% yesterday on Phase 3 SELVA success for its topical rapamycin gel, Qtorin, in microcystic lymphatic malformations. Impact: the trial met its primary endpoint, P0.01, with 95% of patients showing improvement. NDA submission is planned for H2 2026. If approved, it would be the first therapy for this condition. Clinical and research updates: J&J nipocalimab submission. Filing: submitted a supplemental BLA for IMAAV nipocalimab for warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, WIHA, supported by Phase 2-3 energy trial data. Impact: if approved, it would be the first ever treatment for this life-threatening autoantibody disease utilizing the FcRn blockade mechanism. Abcuro, Phase 2-3 failure. Data: its KLRG1 antibody olviprubart failed a pivotal muscle study in inclusion body myositis, IBM, missing primary and key to secondary endpoints. A prespecified subgroup in mild to moderate disease showed trends toward improvement. Gossamer Bio, pulmonary failure. Market reaction: shares cratered 80% yesterday after its Phase 3 PROSERA study of seralutinib in PAH failed to meet the prespecified statistical threshold, plus 113 versus placebo, in 6 MWD, P0.032 versus required, ASI 0.025. Corporate developments: Regeneron and Sanofi, FDA approval. Approval: Dupixent received its 9th FDA approval as the first and only medicine for allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, AFRS, in patients aged 6 and older. Note: this approval arrived early ahead of its scheduled Feb 28 PDUFA. Data showed a 50% reduction in sinus opacification versus 10% for placebo, and a 92% reduction in the need for surgery or systemic steroids. Medtronic MiniMed IPO launch. Spin-off launched its IPO roadshow for MiniMed, its diabetes spin-off, seeking to raise up to $784 more at $25-28 per share. The IPO is expected to price on March 5th. Medtronic will retain a stock 90% stake initially, with plans for full distribution within 12 to 15 months. Merck reorganization. Strategy announced: it is splitting its human health business into a distinct oncology division and a separate specialty pharma infectious diseases unit, signaling intensified focus on the Keytruda franchise. Policy and public health: FDA regulatory shift confirmation. Policy. In a major policy change detailed in NEJM, FDA Commissioner Makary and Deputy Prasad announced the agency will now require only one rigorous clinical study as the default for new drug approvals. Impact. This aims to accelerate access while leveraging modern confirmatory evidence standards, meaningfully compressing development timelines across the industry. HHS CDC leadership appointments: Dr. Jay Bhattacharya took over as acting CDC director, adding the role to his existing position as NIH director. He replaces Jim O'Neill, signaling a back-to-basics focus on infectious disease monitoring, telehealth extension legislation. The Consolidated Appropriations Act 2026 successfully extended Medicare telehealth coverage for 2 years, providing a 2.4B reimbursement floor for the digital health sector through 2028. Read Full Analysis Biomed Nexus Pro. Institutional Intelligence Briefing. Today's Pro Brief: the Lilly-Novo divergence. Why institutional desks are rotating into LLY for margin and NVO for volume. Gossamer, GOS distress. We model the cash runway 105 amid against the FDA subgroup meeting. The onshoring premium: why US manufactured biotechs are trading at a 15 to 20% premium following SOTU pricing dynamics. Upgrade to Pro. Today read full article. Selective 2026 sponsorship placements are available. Reply directly to discuss a partnership or submit an inquiry here.